YouTube, what's up? Today we are going to be watching some RLCS replays from the North American Regional 2 in which some history happened. Some record-breaking history. Never before in the North American or EU RLCS had a team come back from and make a reverse sweep in a best of 7. It happened, in best of 5s before, where it's not quite as hard, only down 2 games, and you have to win 3. But in 7, it just hasn't happened. 4 straight games in a row, while staring defeat in the face. And Spacestation Gaming was the first to do it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to watch 3 games from the comeback from Spacestation Gaming over Oxygen. Specifically, we're going to watch the 3 highest score games from any Space Station Gaming player. And that just so happens to be Retals here in this game number 4, Arsenal in game 6, and then finally in game 7, Clutch Master, we will see Daniel and what he did in game 7 to finish off the first ever best of 7 reverse sweep. So as I was looking at these replays, just something I want to talk about before we get into how Space Station and Retals are playing. I checked out the replays, and on ballchasing.com, you can look at who had the best individual games by score in the whole series. And of the top 7 or so score lines for every game, 4 of them were LJ. LJ had an insane series. Now, the other 3 were actually very naturally split over the Space Station Gaming squad, and that is the games that we're going to be watching today. But man, LJ, I think we need to be watching out for him. LJ's been a guy who's been coming up in the scene for a while. He's been playing on Oxygen with a different teammate than Gimmick, but recently Gimmick leaving version 1 and coming and joining Oxygen. They've had a couple great regionals since that's happened. So I think that team coming into the light a little bit more is going to give a bigger spotlight to LJ, and something tells me you'll be hearing much more about LJ in the future, whether that's as a member of Team Oxygen or not. But that was a nice outplay attempt by Space Station. So anyways, halfway through this game, we find ourselves here with a 3-0 lead for Oxygen in the game sets and a 1-0 lead in this game 4, looking at a full sweep. And Space Station Gaming, they keep their heads in it. It's a very impressive performance. I mean, truly historic, like we talked about before. But I do think that these guys have a good amount of self-confidence. I'm sure they believe they can be the best team in North America. And so they know they're never down out of it against a team like Oxygen, who maybe can't argue the same kind of, rep or skill level. Although Oxygen is definitely making an argument for being in that discussion. Arsenal to Retals, and some offense for the Space Station Gaming squad. 1-1. Time for Space Station to start turning it around. And it'll be fun to watch. We watched some replays recently, an entire series from the debut of Daniel as he took down FaZe. And it is kind of nice to watch from Daniel's perspective because he plays so much of the game in the back third. You can actually see everything that's going on all the time. Not a bad place to analyze the game from. But one thing we noticed watching from Daniel's perspective is that Retals is a super aggressive. He's definitely that first man, first Space Station, and not necessarily a first man in the way that you think, he's always striking or cherry picking up field to make plays. He's a first man in this way right there. Exactly proving my point. He likes to just get up the field and break up the defense. This time he bumps Toasty, and Daniel ends up getting the goal. And, we're talking about Retals, who had the best score in this game. He does not get any score for that play. I mean, a slight bump. I don't think you get any points for a bump on another car at all. So truly, according to Scoreline, completely uncredited for that goal. But even then, still getting the best score, and that is another reason why. A great outplay into the corner, and then an absolute banger of a shot into the top right shelf. Oh, Toasty, he wanted revenge. He just comes right off the kickoff looking for blood. With 3-1, 30 seconds left to go. Space Station feeling good about breaking the streak of losses that they had up until this point. Arsenal has to get a clear way. You see Retals doing a lot of camera work to try and understand what he needs to worry about on defense. He'd try and prefer to stay down and grounded and have the mobility to change the play. Oh, big miss by the back line from Oxygen. You're just going to get a fourth. But you'll see him using that camera work to make sure that he only commits when he really has to. It's good patience. But Retals, a great game, putting his team back on the map. Still down 3-1 though, as they look to finish off the reverse sweep. Game number 6. That's right, we just watched game 4 and a good performance from Retals, but we have jumped over now, game 5, to another high-performing game from Space Station Gaming, which was Arsenal here in game 6. We'll see what he did for his team to bring him back in what was an historic performance. We talked about Retals upfield playing that first man. If you have Retals playing the most aggressive, Daniel certainly the most passive, at least in Regional 1. I haven't watched too many replays of how they're playing now. Arsenal is the glue guy in the middle, enabling Retals in a lot of ways to do what he does and playing a similarly aggressive playstyles. We see him sliding through to take out some people on the back wall. Got the close demo, but couldn't get the rest of Oxygen out of the way. Nice pass by Daniel, but Arsenal can't get up to it. Look at Retals. Classic Retals play there. Sweeping through the net, breaking up the defensive rotation, and then immediately turning to keep that pressure on. Retals pop for Daniel. He's going to look to play it by himself. This is classic. Danny tried to get the double flip reset. He must not have gotten that second one, or he just got too much separation on the second one. Couldn't get back to it. Daniel, really almost like no other player, has found a way to really make those long air dribbles with the flip resets work. I mean, I think when we watched them happen in ones, we weren't sure how much it would translate to 3v3. It's not often you really have a moment to sit and slowly air dribble flip reset an entire team. Usually you can get it past one, but it's too slow of a play ultimately to outplay multiple players. But Daniel has shown that it can definitely be reliable. I mean, he just gets the ball into places that the other team aren't expecting. This is a good shot opportunity for Oxygen if it weren't for the fact that Daniel jumped up and intercepted it. And nice play from Arsenal. Just breaks up the offensive possession for Oxygen. They did a good job of potentially holding on to it, but you can see Gimmick having to clear almost back into his half as an attempt to keep possession, and that's because Arsenal took out that offender who was set up to make the kind of the cap play, or what's a good way to put it? Basically keep the ball in play on offense. He took out the player whose role that was. He's got Toasty hiding inside that near post of the net. Long shot will be saved. That's the kind of things the Space Station Gaming pressure will make you do. You got everybody on the map, always adjusting maybe slightly out of where they'd want to be on defense because they know they have to keep themselves away from that oncoming pressure. You know, it's easy enough to stay moving on defense, not let Space Station get to you in the open flow of the game, but as soon as Space Station starts to put a few shots on you in a row, that's when you see those defensive rotations slow down. Players start to, stop moving and try and just hang in a good position for a defense. That's when they're going to get found out, taken off the map by one of these two bruisers of Space Station Gaming. Minute 30 left to go. Arsenal not finding any demos this time on the aggressive play, but making sure to go back and pick up the 100 boost. This is a great dodge of the demo. LJ had possession, and I think it was Gimmick who came up forward. Arsenal was last back. He had to get those two demo dodges, otherwise LJ would have had a very easy net to score on. And Arsenal dodging a couple and then getting a tap away. I mean, that is another one of those things. We talked about Retals making a good impact despite the scoreline not really showing that he deserved it. And I would say that was Arsenal. That was a good play from Arsenal that won't show up on the scoreline. Of course, as I talk about it, he pre-jumps and his team everybody ends up missing on the map, and then he can't pre-flip in the way of the first shot. So a goal down, 40 seconds left to go. On the verge of a potential series loss is Spacestation Gaming. They only have 30 seconds to bring it back. Retals out to Arsenal. Daniel was even upfield. Daniel had gotten himself, I think he might have just gotten a demo, brought himself up into the aggressive part of the map, and that is something that we noticed. When we watched Daniel, he played very passive and only would come up into the mix when his team truly had no other choice. Kind of like pulling the goalie. I mean, obviously there's no goalies in Rocket League, at least not since Gibbs. But, you know, a obvious change in play style from the last back on Space Station when that goal becomes absolutely necessary. Hockey has always had the closest comparison. We're headed to overtime, but hockey definitely the closest game in play style, I would say, to Rocket League. And honestly, I say that without even having thought about pulling the goalie. That was just a natural example I thought again. Daniel, that's a great save. Arsenal trying to help his team clutch it up in overtime. LJ all by himself, and nobody comes to challenge him until way too long. I would imagine LJ, with how good he plays for Oxygen, you cannot let him have the ball with space for very long. Just think Arsenal maybe thought Daniel was going to turn to challenge. Not the best of touches by Arsenal. A little bit of panic. I think he could have recognized that Toasty had no additional touch there, and maybe had gotten a better clear. Arsenal on the back wall. Daniel, the first man. Great jump to affect that play. Arsenal had seen LJ go up the back wall and knew the tight angle shot was potentially there, but Arsenal saves it. Daniel gets outplayed. Seen a bit of a mix-up on rotations here as Arsenal forced onto the back line while Daniel continues to be that first man. Great double demo. This could be the opportunity. Arsenal actually went for the triple demo. Oh, Retals. Oh, my goodness. Retals. I tell you what, Arsenal gets both goals in this series, or sorry, in this game from Game 6, but man, Retals had a couple nice assists. This one taps himself to the corner, lands on the back wall, pops it back out to his boy Arsenal, and Gimmick cannot quite save it. So Space Station send themselves to Game 7. Game 7, Space Station Gaming. Everybody who seems to watch this channel's favorite player. Let's see what Daniel did to have the best score in the closing game. In the last regional, he had already started to get a bit of a reputation for having 0-second goals in very clutch moments, even in the series against NRG where they ended up losing. So it'll be interesting to see if he continues to have that kind of ice in game number 7s. Right now he's the last back. You can see Oxygen playing a pretty aggressive game. Not really getting too close to Daniel. I didn't really feel like he had that much pressure and changing up his defense rotations. Retals! Oh my goodness. Chat, I unlike the other regionals, I haven't watched this one yet. I was busy this weekend of this regional, so this stuff is surprising me because I truly haven't seen it. But man, that was a mistake on Daniel's part, and an absolute savior of a play by Retals. Unfortunately, their team just instantly gets scored on anyways. But man, not only did Space Station have to come back in the series, but it seems like they're having to come back in every one of these games. Have they gone down and got scored on first in almost every one of these games? Daniel, man, I wonder if he's feeling a little bit of nerves. That's a big miss. And I say big because for a player like Daniel, it's completely unforced. There was no reason to miss in that situation. I'm realizing, looking at Daniel's Fennec right now, I have a titanium white Fennec. I need to get this decal. This is a sick setup. Anyways, Space Station, though, can't be distracted too much by the away decals. Still down 1-0. Daniel by himself, full field. This is a Daniel dribble. We've seen it a billion times in his 1v1s. The objective, though, is a little bit different in threes. Can't just slow it down. Try and go for it all yourself. Usually you're going to be forced to play at a pace faster than you can get away with in ones. And mostly you're just trying to set up for your team. Can't really find anything there, but definitely relieve the pressure. Daniel, slow to react gimmick was so quick to jump on that ball. Finding our boy Daniel back in his very familiar position. Watching Arsenal and Retals do work upfield, and then taking his opportunities to make a solo play when he can. Retals, dude, the man has been an assist master in this series so far. Can he find another way to create some opportunities? All I know about this game is that Daniel finished it with the highest score. Could still mean that Retals was absolutely a distributor. Toasty trying to get his team going with a little bit of air dribble flip resets. Oh my goodness, Retals just passed the ball directly in front of the net. Arsenal covered us though. Toasty seems to be the aggressor for Oxygen. He definitely is playing that front line, trying to clean up the back line of Space Station most often. Also, Oxygen runs 2 Dominuses. Is there any other team running only 1 Octane nowadays? I guess Phoenix are, of course, not Octanes, but I consider them to be. Is anybody running flat cars? Only 1 Octane hitbox per team. I think that's got to be pretty low. Arsenal to Dan. What a shot. Wow. That was a perfect... I mean, that window was not that big. He needed to get to the ball quick before defenders cut him off, but he also needed to touch the ball really soft. He couldn't just boom it to where defenders were, so he turned and got wheel side on the ball. Got a really soft touch to the top right corner. So he's got his team tied. 45 seconds left to go. Him and Gimmick in a little de facto rule 1. Daniel getting himself so far out of the play, but getting a good read that even though the ball bouncing nowhere near him, that he could still get the win and get there first. Retals almost able to finish that off. Arsenal had a great solo play, I think it was, to set up that opportunity. All of Space Station on the back line now. Toasty continuing to be that front guy, affecting the play at all times. Daniel 50. Looking like we are going to an overtime. A Game 7 overtime as Space Station looks to finish off what was a reverse sweep. Oxygen winning the first 3 games of the series. Space Station trying to win the 4th in a row. My goodness, the kind of pressure. I wish I could have seen these live. That's half why I want to make these YouTube videos. An opportunity to watch these games again. Arsenal, Retals, and Daniel all on the goal line. Toasty able to bump Daniel off the ball, but not Retals, who has been putting the team on his back a little bit in these games we've been watching so far. Daniel out to his teammates. Retals 50s in high. I can't imagine Arsenal finds a way to score this. Instead, looks like he'll play a possession game. We're back in the standard Space Station gaming configuration. Daniel in the back half. Retals and Arsenal upfield on offense. Looking to see what they can do. Daniel, wait a second. Did he find himself an open net? So smart to not challenge on this touch. It seemed like an opportunity to maybe try and win this race. I mean, Daniel could come to this ball much, much earlier if he wants to try and get it over LJ, or worried about potentially Toasty. Or, yeah, I think it'd be Toasty. You know, if he's worried about Toasty coming to get a touch, which I don't know how much boost Toasty has. Let's check and see real quick. Yeah, 85. In fact, let's watch it from Toasty's perspective. Why does Toasty not go here? Oh, Toasty maybe thinks LJ is going to get it. I mean, the patience from Daniel ends up paying off. You know, you don't expect this opportunity to come to very often. And I guess probably because you think LJ gets a touch here, but he doesn't get anything. And then, man, what's happening with Gimmick? Why does Gimmick does not get the save? He just doesn't expect the shot coming. Oh, Gimmick gets bumped a little bit. And he just uses that momentum. Oh, he checks ball game. He turns up field. Oh, my goodness. Gimmick turns upfield here. This is crazy. Gimmick knows he's last back for sure. He watches this bounce a pretty long time. He keeps ball cam on. But he decides that he sees LJ and Toasty on the ball and thinks, no way is this next touch Daniels. And I don't think that that's that terrible of an idea to have. I mean, but he's so confident about it. He gets boosted and he turns upfield, which is like, that's so much faith in LJ and Toasty to not get beat. Of course, it is super easy to say in retrospect, but hey, congrats to Spacestation Gaming. Making history. If it weren't for the fact that a team did it right after them.